pum. That was
good.
Quote from our recommendation, my recommendation.
I like that.
One Cut of the Dead, but we'll get to that later.
Welcome, everyone. We are here. Awful Takes Podcast, episode 4?
3.
Are we on 4?
We're on the 3rd episode.
Oh, we're on 3. Okay.
Yeah,
that review kind of threw me off. My name's Nabahi. I'm here with my co-host, Wallied.
Hello, I'm Wallied from Sir Gator Productions.
We talk about movies, music, and things in pop culture, and just we don't have the best take on it, but here we are, taking up time out of your day to explain what we think. We had an interesting week in movie news, something that definitely just threw me for a loop. When I was in my teens, I was first exposed to Quentin Tarantino. The first film I watched of his was Reservoir Dogs, his first film. And I just really loved it and been a big fan of his. He only makes movies every couple of years, so when he makes them, it's like, all right, now let's go see it. It's for me, it's like an event.
Yeah, it's usually a pretty big deal, like a Christopher Nolan type, where it's like you hear about it and it's like you got to go see it immediately.
Exactly, you know? and the cool thing with him, he does have his own sense of style that kind of goes throughout all of his movies, but some are, inspired by spaghetti westerns, war films, action movies.
60s Hollywood is another one.
Mystery type thrillers. So he has his own style and his own flavor, but does different types of genres and things like that. He has been working on his 10th film, which was called The Movie Critic. Apparently, it was based around a real person, I believe. It wasn't technically going to be an autobiography, but there was this movie critic that I guess Tarantino used to read about growing up, and it was going to be based on him. And we had found out that this week that movie is no longer happening. He is throwing that out, and he is starting fresh, I guess. What do you think about that?
Kind of shocked. Honestly, it seemed he was kind of passionate about this film just from like how he was talking about it. So it was kind of like maybe he kind of lost interest in the project. Maybe he reread it. Maybe there wasn't something working. But I'm kind of curious, though, with this being canceled, what his next film will actually be. So it makes me curious if he's going to do, like you mentioned, a Star Trek film before we recorded, which that could maybe be something interesting. I've always heard about that Star Trek film that he's talked about for a while, and so maybe that's a possibility. But I don't know. I feel like if he's gonna go out with a bang, it would probably want to be something like maybe original, maybe not an adaptation or sequel.
And for listeners who don't know, Tarantino, for probably his last 3 films, has been saying that I've quoted him before that he thinks directors don't get good when they get old. So he wants to have a set amount of films, just I have 10 and that's it, With this being his 10th film, he wants to end it. He wants to just say, okay, this is it. This is my line of work. It's these 10 films and that's it. There was a lot of debate. I guess he would go back and forth saying, well, I don't know if it's going to be 10, it could be 12, could be 11. So he never really seemed too set on the number until recently, where he has been dubbing The Movie Critic as his last film. An interesting thing about this is he had been writing it for a while, and they were set to start shooting in August, which means pre-production was pretty far along if you're going to start shooting pretty soon, and I would hear casting rumors of like Brad Pitt's in the movie. Oh, maybe Tom Cruise is going to play a role in the movie. And you would start hearing all this stuff and you're like, all right, things are moving along. And then out of nowhere, it's just like, well, that's done. And I don't know, that just is leaving me really puzzled and just kind of like, was he not happy with it? Was the story just maybe something that wasn't necessarily working? And with it being his last film, the only thing that's really coming to mind is maybe it just didn't feel like a last film. Maybe it wasn't something that he would have been proud to end his career on. So he wants to start fresh, which I just think is really, really fascinating and interesting. But yeah, I don't know.
He seems to be his own worst critic, it seems, so. And I could completely understand as this is going to be your final film. You do want to end off with a bang, but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unlike other directors, it's very interesting to see someone just say, like, I'm going to be done after this, Granted, we hear this sometimes with actors and things when they're like, I'm retiring. Like, obviously, the countless, like Jim Carrey was retiring and now he's coming back for Sonic 3. Or
he's been back for a bit, though.
But he distinctively said that Sonic 2 was his last film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Now here we are, things are changed. So maybe Tarantino maybe he might make more after this. We don't know. One thing that I did find interesting was, I guess, while he was writing this movie, he ended up writing into the movie the character of Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's right. I did hear about this, too.
And he ended up writing, I guess, like a major role for him to where I guess people might even consider this like a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Might be a spin-off, though.
Yeah. And I don't know if maybe that's what kind of made him be like, I don't know if I want to do this, because he doesn't really do like sequels or things like that or spin-offs. So
the only time he's kind of really done it was for Kill Bill, and even then that's apparently considered to be like one movie. So
very interesting. So I don't know if that's maybe something that, because I remember when they first announced the movie Critic, there was no mention of Cliff Booth being in the movie or Brad Pitt reprising his role. So I really don't know. I would love for him to talk about it one day. He probably will when his next movie officially gets rolling and he starts doing press. It did remind me a little bit of the Hateful Eight situation when the script leaked and he was like, I'm not making that anymore. We might do a stage play or like a reading of it. But they ended up making the movie. So maybe we might see like a novelization someday of this story that was supposed to be told, or stage production. I don't know, but it was really fascinating just to find out that it's done.
That was like quick. It was like pretty much quick. I was like, oh dang.
And it's gonna raise the hype for his new movie.
His final
film. I don't know. I will say when I started hearing about the movie Critic, I was interested in it. I was like, that seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, so I was kind of curious to see what his final film would be, like if it was going to be maybe a commentary on like film criticism, or maybe just more of like a film about maybe impact or legacy. Yeah. That's kind of what I kind of was going to assume it was going to be about, but
I think so too. Like that was something that I was like, well, maybe he's trying to tie it in full circle, because he started out working at like a Blockbuster and he would like recommend movies to people, you know?
Yeah. And he is actually a movie critic himself. He does talk about a lot of like, especially popular like Asian films like Chungking Express or even Park Chan-wook's Oldboy.
Yeah. And he, for the years when he's not making films, he will do like his top 10 list of the year. It's always interesting and fascinating to hear his perspective. But who knows? A little disappointed that the wait's going to be a little bit longer, but
I'm willing to see what it will be, and I'll definitely check it out when it comes out.
Maybe he has another story in the back of his head or something. Obviously, I don't think he canceled it just to start fresh. I feel like maybe another idea was kind of popping in his head while he was in the pre-production, and maybe it's just something he would rather pursue than the movie Critic. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited for it. Just hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Don't want to be too old when that movie comes out.
We'll be in our 40s when it comes out.
We are here to discuss something that is very, very different. So the one thing we need to address right away is we're going to be getting into full spoilers for One Cut of the Dead. So if you have not seen it, like Wallied recommended to me, go watch it. Don't look up anything. Don't try to go online yet. If you've heard nothing about it, that is the exact way you should experience this film. So please go watch it, come back, and then listen to our review, because you really don't want to know too much going into this movie.
Thank you. All right. My recommendation was One Cut of the Dead, directed by Shinichiro Ueda from 2017. And the film is, like it suggests, it is a one-take zombie film. However, after the 40-minute mark, it subverts expectations and it goes into something else. And you find out that this is more of like a film about filmmaking and how this film came to be. And it is genuinely one of the most unique, incredible, fascinating films I've ever seen. There is just so much to unpack about this film. It is a film that rewards you for rewatching many times. It is very funny. I love the use of like over-the-top acting. There is a lot of just so much to say. But before I start kind of rambling and getting into all the nitty-gritty details of it, Nabahi, what did you think of this film?
I texted Wallied yesterday. I sent him the mind-blowing emoji, and that's all I said. Because I just was not ready to watch something like this. Like Wallied says, it starts out like, just this one cut kind of horror film. And then before you know it, things start changing and you're like, okay, I'm watching like this thing being made. And then you start watching the rest of it and then you think it's going one way and then it changes again. And then you're like, wait, whoa, like what's happening? And then you find out more about the director. You see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and it recontextualizes the first 30 minutes that you saw. And it is such a brilliant way to tell a story. I don't think I've ever seen a story kind of told in this way. It was because at first when you're watching it, you're just like, what is this? And your reaction is just like, I was putting myself into other people's shoes, maybe people who don't know too much about filmmaking. Obviously, for me, the first 30 minutes, I was getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, watching like this one cut kind of edit and this take and everything. To me, that's fascinating. Like, I was just like, wow, I was just thinking like, whoa, like what's going on behind the scenes? Like, how do they do this? But some people might think like, oh, this acting isn't necessarily the greatest, like the girls like running, screaming, the camera works like, kind of interesting. Yeah. And then you find out there are reasons to behind everything that you're watching. And that was just like a totally like what the F moment for me, because like that whole time I was thinking like, oh, wow, how are they doing this? And then you get to see it and you get to see like what was going on behind the scenes, the reason why things turned out the way they did. And yeah, it was just very, very unique, and such an amazing film and story. I really don't have anything bad to say about this film. It is very, very close to being perfect, and more people need to see this movie. It was just something that I was not ready for.
Awesome. Let's see where I'm going to begin with this. I love how everything is planned from the moment it begins. The end is very built into the beginning when it comes to this film. I think the jokes are hilarious.
Yeah.
Some of the funniest jokes I've seen in any horror comedy, period. The whole palm bit in the beginning is hilarious. And I love how the whole film just commits to this bit. There's so many incredible bits that they just commit to. Yeah. And the palm bit is hilarious, especially when you find out like the like meaning behind it and like the origin of like where it came from. She just saw it on TV because she's bored and she doesn't really have anything else to do.
Yeah.
I really love over-the-top acting a lot. I think it's really great. It fits with like the tone of the film and what Definitely. It's trying to go for, because I feel like if this was like kind of any film and it was like being a little bit more serious, I'd kind of have an issue with it. But because it knows what it is, and it just takes advantage of the fact that, yeah, it's a very cheesy horror comedy sort of made for TV movie sort of thing, you know? And I really, really enjoy that a lot. I love the colors in the beginning where it's like a kind of like a dirty green, like a lot of grays and like a lot of reds, you know, like they kind of pop out. And then like once like that 40 minutes ends, it like changes and it's almost like a different perspective, or it's almost like, oh, now you're watching like a standard movie.
Yeah.
And then like at the end and the real credits, you see it's like behind the scenes. It's from like a first POV of like the camera operator.
Even that was
real
like
behind
a mind
the scenes.
blow.
Yeah.
I was just like,
it's like a film within a
Jesus
film within
Christ.
a film. I really love the great use of misdirection and how it subverts expectations. It doesn't feel forced at all, because I feel like with some films that do take a left turn, sometimes it could feel a little off-putting or forced. But for this film, it feels very natural, you know, especially when you realize why they're doing and making some of these decisions throughout the film. The characters, I love the director character and his progression from making like those like melodramatic telenovela type films at the beginning with like the hospital K-drama type thing. And then I love how like he's kind of like not really that interested in the project, but like as the film goes along, it's like he ends up like committing to being a director and even playing a director for the film because of like a thing that does happen in the film where
that's something that I don't know, I think a lot of filmmakers can sympathize with that director of like, I guess I have to do it. I guess I have to fill in this role. And that was something that made me really like, that's kind of how it happens, you know?
Yeah, he is like taking a risk pretty much because he's never really taken any risks.
Yeah.
He's kind of done like a lot of, oh yeah, he makes one for them over and over again. And this one is a one for them, but he's like more committed and he's more excited to do this project than what he was doing like in the when he was doing at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where he's doing like that hospital drama, you know?
Exactly.
I love the daughter character in the film too, and how she's kind of like more of the artsy. She appreciates like the little details. There's a really great line in that scene where he's talking to his daughter after she's gotten fired from the set that she was working on, where he tells him, he's like, you got to compromise. I know you appreciate the details. And that for me, I feel like really encapsulates what the film is going for, is that it's appreciating those small details that most people wouldn't really notice in a film. One of my favorite commentaries, I feel like it's kind of a bit of a commentary, at least from what I got out of it, was there's the lady producer where they're watching the film. They're watching like the one cut of the Dead film, and she's like sort of watching it, but she's not really paying attention that much. And there's a really funny scene where she's like on her phone and the lady's still screaming.
Oh yeah.
And she's just like barely paying attention, and the guy's all, this is going on for too long? She's all, wait, what? And that to me, I feel like it represents the audience.
Yeah.
Because when a lot of like a general audience member does watch a film, they don't really pick up on small details like that a lot of the time. So I thought that was really hilarious. And I thought it was like a very fascinating way to portray like maybe an audience member. I wrote in my notes here, the funniest poop joke I think I've seen in a while with the bald-headed boom mic guy, where he is like, I have to drink this specific type of water.
Yeah.
Or else like he has like really bad diarrhea. And I love how like in the film he has to leave and you don't know why he's leaving.
Yeah.
And then it comes into play later of like he actually just needed to go to the restroom really bad. And it's so hilarious. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Especially when he comes back, because you don't know why the director's there, and then like he like pushes them in the building where he's like, all right, action again. I think for me, a lot of the comedy in the film comes from those little mistakes, you know, because they take advantage of the fact where it's like, this shouldn't work, and this is kind of like, oh, that's weird. It kind of seems kind of incompetent.
Yeah.
But they make up for it with the jokes. It's like more of a drive to make like the jokes even better.
Yeah.
You know? Especially when you know the reasoning behind them, and it's like all of it is mostly unintentional and none of it was like really planned. That was a really great use of like just that whole foreshadowing reincorporation in the film. There's a great joke where the main lead actor guy, he's like a total diva. He mentions how like there's some like racism commentary in the film.
Oh,
when he's like
yes.
reading the script. And and then like when he tells like the other AD guy, he's all, sorry, I'm in my zone right now, because it's like a perfect representation of like what a diva actor could be like, you know. And that kind of leads into some of my other favorite commentary that I feel like the film sort of brings up, is where it's like it kind of shows you like how crew members sometimes get treated on a film like this, you know, where it's like they don't get as much respect as, say, an actor or a director, you know.
Definitely.
And I feel like it's more of like appreciation of like crew members working on the project and seeing them like rehearsing and planning all this stuff out. And even when things do go wrong, they're still improvising, and they're still finding ways to like just continue and make the project even better than it already is. One thing I also really enjoy about the film is just how committed everybody is to the film, especially the mom character, where she is just really amping it up, and you don't know why she doesn't want to do the acting thing, and then like you find out when she does the project of like One Cut of the Dead, she's like method acting of sorts, where she's just gets so lost in the role and she's like just going psychotic. I thought that was like a really great detail in the film, and that was like a really great like just character motivation, where she's just like you could tell she's just so passionate about it that she just gets so lost in like whatever she's doing. One of my other favorite jokes in the film was like there's like a zoom at the beginning. I don't know if you picked up on it, where it's like the camera zooms at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And then like in the second half, you find out why so they're like, oh yeah, it'd be a cool technique, really cheesy. And there's like she's just continuing to zoom, and then it cuts to the daughter character, and she's all, look, she did the zoom, and like it actually zooms on the daughter character. I thought it was a really funny detail. One of my other favorite moments in the film, it's at one of the final moments in the climax, and they're filming the climax, but they're having a hard time because the crane is broken. They're building like this pyramid of people, and like they keep stopping, you know, the zombie keeps stopping, and you don't know why, but then like you find out, and it's like, oh, smacks, like they're trying to build this pyramid, you know, but the lady keeps falling off, and it keeps going. And the one other detail that I thought was really cool in that sequence was like the music also stopping, and as the music goes along, it just builds up more and more, like to that climax. And then when they finally get the pyramid right, the music just comes to like a great close, and the kill too is also like just super satisfying.
Yeah.
And then when like they get that final shot, and like the daughter character is like on his shoulders, it's like there was a great detail in the film where it showed the dad looking at pictures, and one of the pictures he looks at is of the daughter, him carrying his daughter on his shoulders with the camera. And it was like it all just comes full circle, where she finally gets her moment to like shine. Yeah, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Anything that kind of just stuck out to you?
I just really, so you're watching this first, I believe, what is it, 37 minutes?
Yeah.
So you're watching this, and there's so many stuff in there that you just start to pick up on. And it was just such a cool experience going back and seeing everything that happens behind the scenes. Especially with how they do like some of the effects. There's just they show all the meticulous planning that goes into this. Like, okay, if we're going to do this one take, we need people to be here, here, and here, and you got to be ready for these cues.
Yep.
And it was so riveting to see like things not going right, because that's how it happens on a film set. Like things may not go the way you were thinking.
It's not perfect ever.
You see them in the moment trying to fix it or find another solution to like, okay, well, what do we need to do? How do, like, the director fills in. He one of the guys is drunk out of his mind, and he starts holding him to make him act like a zombie, and the whole time the zombie was just acting weird, and it's just like, well, why does he look like? And then you find out that the director has to move him around because he's too drunk
He's so
to
drunk.
get
He's
through
so
the scene.
just
He's out of it. And or one scene, the camera like falls to the ground, and
Yes,
out of
yeah.
nowhere, the total way the film is being filmed is changed, and you're just like, whoa, this feels like totally different. Then you find out that someone else picked up the camera and they have their way that they want to film it, and it's just like, wow, this is just like so well like thought out. And while you're watching that first 37 minutes, it's just like, what am I watching? Like, this is interesting. Like,
yeah.
I was along for the ride. I was enjoying it, but I was just like, wow, like that's such a big way to introduce people to this story. Then when you see the switch, it's just like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get what's going on. And you start to pick up on it more. And the outcome, what happens at the end, but even still thinking about like, how are they going to pull this off is still riveting. It's still exciting. And you're still like, I want to know, I want to see
absolutely.
it. But you already know that the film ends up finishing and they get everything done. Like you watch the whole one take at the beginning, but it's just, there's still that intrigue and there's still like, wait, I want to see how this is done. And I don't know. I think that's an interesting way to tell a story, like showing characters in one way, and then now you get to see them in a different lens. Now you get to see, who these people really are. A very, very interesting way to tell a story. And you don't see that a lot. You don't really see that being done in films. But overall, it's just very unique. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. And it is just such a wild ride that I feel people need to experience. You need to watch this type of movie just to get involved in just something that's so different and so unique. It really is just, I've seen nothing like it. And based on that stance alone, it needs to be seen and it needs to be experienced. If you are someone who likes film, definitely really recommend it. Obviously, here we are now talking about spoilers, but avoid them. Like that switch is just like something I've never experienced in a movie, and I wish more people would put themselves into those situations where they don't know things about films, and you just get to experience it without knowing anything. And maybe that sucks because obviously we are mentioning it, so people might go to like YouTube or just Google it. You might find out some things about it, but obviously just try to know as little as possible.
I feel for me too, also with you mentioning like the ending, I feel like the entire film is capsulated about, it's not really about the destination or final product, but just of like the journey of how it got made, the struggles that they had to go through to get this made,
definitely.
The different improv that they have to do, the different things that weren't working out, but they still found a way to make them creative and do something really interesting with them. One thing I also forgot to mention too was just the music. I really love how goofy and over the top it is. You know? And I love like the different sound effects they use. It really gives like, they really use that to their advantage to make this like even more sillier and crazier,
Yeah.
I'm really happy you got to see this.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, I have no complaints with this movie. Everything worked for me. Everything was just firing on all cylinders. The acting, the directing, the writing, everything was just very, very, you could just tell that they had one vision while making this movie and everyone was working to achieve that.
Absolutely.
And they just pulled it off. They did the best job I feel like most directors wish they could do. I feel like it's a very hard challenge to do this. And again, more people just need to see this movie. Like it's just something that it goes under the radar. Like I said before, I had never heard of this movie until now. So, but obviously now that I'm looking online, like there is a following, there is people who know about this movie and it gets recommended a lot. Just go out and see it.
Yeah.
Rent it off of YouTube. Go see it. I will say, just stick with it. The first 37 minutes, unfortunately, could be a downside to some people. Some people may just start it and they might be like, you know what, 15 minutes in, this is just not working for me. And they might turn it off, which is unfortunate. And I hope that doesn't happen. But I could see that being a challenge for some people who aren't necessarily into movies and follow movies, which sucks because it works so well. Like watching that part and seeing everything, and then the switch, really, you can't do it any other way. Like Wallied said, like if you were to film this in a different way, or if you were to have a different perspective, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So stick with it. If the first 37 minutes can be a challenge, but you stick with it, you need to make it through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so fascinating about the film too, is that it just, you think that like, okay, wait, how are they going to do this one take film for 90 minutes? Because this honestly could get tiring,
Yeah.
It could come off gimmicky.
Yeah.
It could just come off like a novelty film. But it's the fact that it just takes advantage of that being the first 40 minutes, and then just gets to like be like almost this like film appreciation of sorts,
Yeah.
I think is really just fantastic in my opinion. But I'll just say this is a very special, unique film that takes advantage of the medium of film to make something special in the process. I feel like it's a film that uses mistakes to drive the humor and takes advantage of using subversion in a creative way where it doesn't come off like forced or fake, or it's like trying to be weird for the sake of being weird. It just embraces it and embraces that over the top nature that I think is just really just fantastic in my opinion. Also, with the very limited resources that they used for the film, considering this costed like $25,000, is just able to make something like so genuine and so just incredible in the process. It shows you that like it doesn't matter what budget you have. You could make a film for like $10,000 or $1 million, and you can either make a great film or you can make a film that's just either okay or not great. So it really just, for me, it depends on how you use budget a lot of the time. Yeah, incredible pacing, really great editing choices, incredible over-the-top acting. Everyone gives a really great performance in it. Great music, great sound design. A film that just really respects its audiences and allows you to just think about like the small details in the film. It is a film that rewards you every time you rewatch it. You can always pick up on something different that you didn't maybe the first or second time you didn't see it. Yeah, just surprisingly super well made on a technical level. I think this film is honestly a masterpiece in my opinion. And yeah, I would easily, hands down, give this a 10 out of 10.
I was not ready. I was not ready for this journey. I was not ready for this ride. And I feel like that's how it has to be. You can't know things. You can't think you know things about this movie and then watch it, because there's so many twists and turns in it that there's no way you'll think of what this movie is about. There's no way.
Yeah, it's like the film equivalent of like, don't judge a book by its cover, pretty much.
Exactly. So I can't recommend it enough. General audiences will more than likely have a problem going into this movie. Unfortunately, that's just the way I see that happening. I can see people turning it off after the first 15 minutes, unfortunately. But please, just stick with this film. Make it past that first 37 minutes and you will be very, very surprised. I guess technically I don't even think that's a downside though, because I found enjoyment in it, but I guess that's something that some people would consider a downside, is that first 37 minutes. There's reason for everything that you are watching. There's reason why that scene is like that. So please stick with it. Obviously, it is one thing to recommend a story, but then to recommend that, just make it through this part or stick with it, is another challenge to be tacked onto it of recommending the story in the first place. But I can't emphasize it enough. Stick with it. Watch this movie. Filmmakers film fans, you will have enjoyment out of this movie more than likely. I would be shocked if you didn't. I guess I'll give it 9.5. I'll
Nice.
settle there. I guess the only downside I would say is just, again, that first part. But it's not even, again, like, that's not even a downside for me, because I was enjoying what I was seeing. I was enjoying what was going on. But I just don't know if most people will. And haven't seen a film that is so polarizing in the beginning that people might turn it off, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously I was watching reviews after I'd seen the movie and things like that. And I guess that is things that was happening. People were just like, you know what? No, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah, I could see it being a turnoff for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, really give this film a chance. You know? If it doesn't stick with you, then that's okay. But obviously, yeah, don't judge the book by its cover, you know? Just give this all the time you can, you know?
Yeah, and there's so much to this movie. Again, like, it's thrilling at parts. It is it has heartfelt moments. There's just so much to unpack here that you need to watch it. I just can't recommend this movie enough. Yeah,
Awesome.
I enjoyed it a lot. Again, like, I just was not ready for this movie. And that is part of my enjoyment, to think that 24 hours ago I was just like, well, I don't know how this is going to play out, you know? And now that I'm just like thinking back on everything, it's just like, I want to watch that again, and I want to show it to people, and I want them to see their reaction. And I want, you know, that's one of my things that I like after going to movies, is showing people and seeing their reaction. You know, will they like it? Will they get the same enjoyment? So yeah, check it out. One Cut of the Dead.
Yes.
Awesome movie. We are in episode 3, and our movies are just so different. Each one is just something different, and that is just the best part about this show. No movie is
No movie's the same.
no movie's the same. All these artists, they have different ways of going about things, and they have different resources that they use, and that's just one of the enjoyments of being a movie fan. But go watch it. Can't recommend it enough. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah.
Very glad to hear.
It's a super great movie. Check it out.
Fantastic film.
We're going to be moving on.
All right. Your turn to recommend a film.
Next week, we got a film that it was on Netflix at one point, and that's kind of how I ended up watching it. Came out in 2012. It is called The Hunt. It stars the great actor Mads Mikkelsen, and he turns in such a good performance. It is such a sad story, and it is something that I feel isn't addressed too much in movies, where these prejudices and things that people jump to conclusions with stuff, and there are labels now, there are labels that people are given, and in doing that, you can really ruin a person's life, you know? And it's so relevant today, where people are throwing out these terms of racism, of you know, misogyny, and you know, putting labels on things, you know, you may think has a positive effect of you're this and that's what we think of you as, but it can also be very damaging to a person's life. So that is the movie we're going to be talking about next time. I don't think I've ever been madder watching a movie.
Hopefully I don't punch my hopefully I don't throw my remote at the TV. Damn. Okay.
This is a movie that I just want to talk about, just because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen it, and I did try to show it to a lot of my friends when it was coming out.
Okay.
And we all enjoyed it.
Nice.
And obviously Mads Mikkelsen is a bigger star now.
Yeah.
He's kind of the A-list guy, especially when it comes to, like, you know, serious work and you need a serious guy to fill in this role. He does it so well. He's such a good actor. So yeah, that's the movie we're gonna be talking about next time. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I've seen it once. I saw it a couple years ago, and I was like, "Damn, that was amazing." But don't know if I want to watch that again for a while. So I'd be interested to. So yeah, I'm excited to revisit it though and see how it holds up on a second viewing.
Same. I actually probably haven't seen it in probably like 6 or so years. It's been a while. But it stuck with me this whole time.
Yeah,
so
same here.
I can recall scenes from the movie that had a very big effect on me. So that really does show that there's serious filmmaking going on when this movie was made.
Of course.
We're going to be moving on to episode 4.
Excited.
Super excited. Podcast is moving along, getting a little more comfortable behind the mic. Things are feeling a little bit more natural. So you have a lot of less nerves compared to that first one where I just didn't really feel too focused. But we're moving along, and we're having a fun time doing it. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in closing?
Just thank you all for listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one cut of the dead discussion. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Good night, tri-state area. I don't know. I got to think of a good closing
good
outro or something.
Line. But
yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We have such ambition for filmmaking and film discussion that this has been really, really awesome. So thank you guys for listening. I guess that's it. We're going to end on that note.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, good night, Los Angeles.
All right. Bye-bye,
and we'll
guys.
see you guys later.